Ladies and gentlemen, this is all over the news now. It's about what? This is an hour, 2 hours ago. John Durham is looking at FBI's launch of Trump campaign probe. And just really quickly, if you look, Barr and Durham publicly disagree with Horowitz report on Russia inquiry. So when the IG report said, well, there was bias here and there, but there was no general bias. The Attorney General reprised his role as a vocal defender of President Trump. Of course, the New York Times is a New York Times article. That's a bad thing. A vocal defender of Biden, President Biden, our beloved president, is a very good thing. Here, Washington, when the Mueller report was made public, the FBI launched an intrusive investigation of a U.S. presidential candidate campaign on the thinnest of suspicions that, in my view, were insufficient to justify the steps taken. That's William Barr. John Durham made the same comment. Okay? And they both disagreed with the assessment that a Steele dossier could start an investigation, or that a third-party tech firm could be outsourced, or that an Alexander Downer, a diplomat from another country, could begin an investigation because of gossip and hearsay. And if you look at their statements, you can look right here. Durham rejects some conclusions of Horowitz report. And then so the IG, really quickly, before we get to what's going on right now at Durham, because he is expanding, he's continuing, and he's investigating. This is a legitimate, really interesting and provocative and intriguing story that everyone should focus on. It is a special counsel. They cannot terminate a special counsel. Hit subscribe to this channel right now. I've been at the forefront. I have continually told everyone this is a special counsel. It was started by the Justice Department, the current administration, President Biden's administration, his Attorney General cannot end this investigation. President Trump lives on. They set him up and framed him, and he lives on through this Durham probe special counsel within Biden's White House. Durham had an immediate reaction. So the IG report said, we did not find documentary or testimonial evidence. Okay, this is legalese. He didn't say there was no political bias. We did not find documentary or testimonial evidence. Yeah, nobody testified, and there was no handwritten admission in a note that said, oh yeah, we went to set up and frame Trump. This is how they speak. We did not find documentary or testimonial evidence that political bias or improper motivation influenced the decision. Did you not read all the text messages? Everyone involved, from Kevin Kleinsmith, who was indicted, to Peter Strzok, to Lisa Page, to Agent 1, and there are all these different agents that didn't have names. They all texted how much they had contempt, how much they despised President Trump, candidate Trump. So how is that not bias? In this country today, there's bias through osmosis, there's subliminal bias, there's all this bias, except if you're an agent for the Bureau investigating a candidate that you don't like. And you see these agents, they were all they believed news reports, they helped feed and spread false information via news reports, and then they believed the news. Oh, can you imagine if he was president? The worst thing that ever happened during President Trump's presidency, okay, was that media obsessed, the Democratic Party, media, everyone obsessed over and sensationalized everything. They sensationalized everything. It wasn't that he never worked with Russia. Throughout the Mueller probe, we had record low unemployment. Go look at the statistics. This is a fact. We had record low unemployment throughout most of the Mueller probe, or throughout the Mueller probe and beyond. And what happened, instead of people saying, wow, he's doing a really good job. He's never been in politics, but he's doing a really good job. they said, okay, well, we had record low unemployment. That's because of President Obama. And this man, worked alongside Putin, and Russian Facebook ads, sent him into the Oval Office. They did the exact same things that they claim to despise from President Trump and Trump supporters the past couple of months. They're hypocrites. But anyway, quote, this is from Durham. I have the utmost respect for the mission of the Office of Inspector General and the comprehensive... However, our investigation is not limited to developing information from within component parts of the Justice Department. Our investigation has included developing information from other persons and entities, both in the U.S. and outside the U.S. Based on evidence his team has collected, Durham said, collected to date, and while our investigation is ongoing, we do not agree with some of the report's conclusions as to the predication and how the FBI case was opened. So, it's not rocket science, okay? It's not rocket science. If you look right here, this is a couple hours ago. After 2 years of search, after 2 years of searching for problems. So this is either an AP or CNN article. CNN. After 2 years of searching for problems, he was searching. They couldn't find anything. Well, we already have text messages that show the biggest tinfoil hat theory, the biggest nonsensical, irrational tinfoil hat fantasy was that Trump worked with Putin. Nobody with a functioning brain cell believes this. Nobody who knows anything really about history or American history or the way intelligence agencies work or politics in general believes that Trump ever worked with Russia. It was a way to save face. They lost. It was a way to blame. That's what a demagogue does. That's what demagoguery is. To blame another country for your failures and losses. And Democrats never get called out because they're the morally superior liberals. Here, the definition. Political activity or practices that seek to support or appeal to the desires and prejudices of ordinary people rather than using a rational argument. You think maybe blaming Russia for their election defeat at the hands of Trump would be what this definition, okay? And President Trump shouldn't have said certain things. He made crude remarks, but it was media that hyped up and sensationalized. People didn't vote for Trump because of base emotions. That's exactly what Democrats, because they lost, believe that he was this nightmare. 74 million and 75 million Americans didn't vote for Trump because of base emotions. A great many Democrats voted against Trump because they thought he worked with Russia. So that's a difference right there. It's actually a Democratic Party that foments and fosters government-run tinfoil hat theories. Okay, it never happened. And then when Mueller, because you can look at and God bless the Vietnam veterans of this country, the Gulf of Tonkin was an intelligence failure. WMD was an intelligence failure. Both led to devastating, catastrophic counterinsurgency conflicts that President Trump tried to get us out of on May 1st, 2021. Biden's going to keep us in a country we've been in indefinitely. We've been there for 20 years. And that's why you vote for President Trump. It was a moral imperative to vote for Trump over Biden. Now look what's happening. Now, in addition to foreign policy, now look what's happening. You have horrendous things taking place at the southern geographic region of our country. And I don't understand. Well, here's a question that I wrote about this in the Jerusalem Post. You can read my op-ed. How is it that Gina Carano was terminated from her production company, fired from Hollywood, but AOC wasn't kicked out of Congress for Yad Vashem actually stating, learn more about the topic, and she tried to make a far more egregious statement, a far more insulting and offensive statement, because we can see now the hypocrisy and duplicity. She was trying to equate detention centers to a time period she should never talk about. That was basically denial and revisionist history. I wrote about that in the Jerusalem Post. Go to hagoodman.com, read my op-ed in the Jerusalem Post about AOC's absurd, completely irrational, and revisionist claims. How on earth is Gina Carano kicked off her movie, but AOC is still in Congress? She said what she said was infinitely worse, because then you had, of course, the wonderful people on the left. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. See? It's the same thing. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, people are in one location, so that's a concentration of human beings. But it's the same thing. I mean, you're talking about people who have no logic and no rational thought. Everything's emotion. And they utilize not just the sorrow and suffering and the open wound of different ethnic groups from their history, but they utilize in this warped historical context, where if you don't believe in what they believe, suddenly, or if they utilize the suffering of voters, their constituents, to push their own warped agenda and to mask their failures. So we have the same detention centers now. Where's the outrage from AOC? Is she going to have the audacity to equate what's taking place in Biden's America to a historical time period that Yad Vashem in Jerusalem told her to learn more about? And what she said was infinitely worse than what AOC said was infinitely worse and infinitely more inaccurate than what Gina Carano stated. Both were offensive statements, or both were statements that shouldn't have been said. One was infinitely worse, which was AOC's statement. And it's not like Yad Vashem didn't correct Gina Carano. Yad Vashem corrected AOC. Gina Carano should never have been fired, especially if AOC is still in Congress. But anyway, see, that's my point. See, there's no rhyme or reason. It's just a political tool. All of this is a political tool. But here, Durham is still at work looking at the early phases of the FBI investigation into Trump's campaign. His relative opaque investigation has now lasted longer than the former special counsel. No, that's that's impossible. If it has, it's gotten zero media attention. If it lasted longer, where are the subpoenas? Where's the media obsession? So it's probably going to need twice as long or three times as long. Durham's probe is focused at least partly on the FBI in its handling of a private intelligence dossier. So Comey is at the forefront of this. Strzok, McCabe, Kleinsmith. He's looking. This isn't rocket science. This isn't rocket science, ladies and gentlemen. Okay? He needs to find out more information to prove they were trying to set up and frame Trump. And he probably has all the information, but again, you can actually get a text message from Peter Strzok saying, "We'll stop Trump," which is almost verbatim, and they won't care. They'll say, well, you know what? Trump deserved it. So it's not about, at this point right now, it's not about convincing media or Democrats. It's about showing the evidence and holding people accountable, which John Durham needs, like I've been saying. He needs a Republican Party behind him. And at the end of the day, Durham, although very noble and very honorable, a noble and honorable man, he's put away government officials before for criminal wrongdoing. He needs at least, if he's not going to get media support, he needs at least Republican Party support. So give me your thoughts below. The message boards led people astray. That was the most absurd, nonsensical, irrational thing. I told people, never listen to message boards. I said in 2018, the whole Q nonsense was dangerous and was the worst thing that could ever happen to a political party. Okay? I was the one saying this. Now Democrats are obsessing, and it's funny. Media and Democrats are obsessing. Thank goodness nobody in their right mind even talks about it or believes it now. But they still, again, it's whatever misstep Republicans make or Trump supporters make, it's a political tool for Democrats to just obsess over. And I was telling people in 2018, don't listen to message boards. Why is that important? Because the Durham probe is an actual, John Durham is living, God bless him. He's not a message board. He's a human being, and he's He's a special counsel. So you need to, like, just focus on what's actually taking place that's good for President Trump, which is the special counsel and potential criminal activity by Comey, Strzok, McCabe, Clapper, Brennan, all of them. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe right now. The Durham probe is expanding. It's not going away. It's expanding. Give me your thoughts.